Good day to you, garden friends. Welcome back to the garden. I'm in the school orchard. The students are on the way out of here, loaded up on the buses. I was out here doing some weed eating and some work, and I figured this would be a great opportunity to do a little video on how to fix drip irrigation. I don't know if you can hear it right now. I'm going to take you on a little tour through the garden, through the orchard. As time goes on in your garden, you know, you're ripping stuff out. You're using weed eaters and hand tools and scrapers and things, and accidents happen. Irrigation systems get busted sometimes, they get cuts, sometimes even without you damaging them at all. Just plastic breaks down, the ultraviolet radiation kind of weakens plastic oftentimes, especially if it's not really designed for it, and things break, all right? So it's time to fix them. I'm gonna take you on a tour. We're gonna look for some breaks, and we're also gonna listen for some breaks, because some of the irrigation breakdowns are visible. You can see water, spraying out or shooting out in some cases. But oftentimes I have my irrigation buried under a couple inches of mulch, shredded wood product or whatnot, and so you can only hear it. And then when the problem is we like having water to all of our plants, but too much water is not good. There can be a lot of issues with that. You're wasting water for one thing, but really, if you're adding too much water to a plant that doesn't want it, or you're feeding the weeds, sometimes the water, if it's spraying above the surface, it's actually shooting away from the tree or the plant you want, and it's hitting areas you don't intend it to hit. And so let's take a tour. Hang with me. I bet you'll love it, and you might actually learn something. Let's go do some field tripping. All right, so before I actually fix any of this broken irrigation, I kind of want to show you what it actually will look like or sound like or appear like. So you can see as we go into our orchard, instantly you could probably hear that, and you can probably see that. This irrigation for this tree there's a very drip tube, a couple different rings around the perimeter of this tree's base. That's been ripped up, probably by hand tool or some kind of tool in there scraping. Just something happened to it. Let me see if I can. I actually got some wood. Oh, so there you go. You can see there's a hole right there in the pipe. Sometimes that happens when the tube that was in there actually gets pulled out, but that also, you can see right here. Look, there we go. Yep. So this one this was legacy dripper when we first had this in there. You can see it was like a 5 gallon per hour drip emitter. We probably had several of these on there, and so it got pulled out. It got pulled right out of its connection. The connector is actually broken, so it's still stuck in there. So what we're gonna have to do is we'll have to pop that out and pop a fresh connector in, a little coupling, and then we'll be good to go. And then of course, if I want to continue to use this, I'd have to remove that little bit of plastic in the end. There's still that little broken piece that's still in there, so we'd cut that out. But I can tell by looking at this emitter that it's broken. So we'll actually just repair that entirely, and maybe even switch it over to a drip tubing. Put a little ring of drip tubing, might be a little more preferable. And so as we keep going through the orchard, you see there's my beautiful pluot tree. It's actually 3 pluots in one, but similar problem. It's spraying water out, but not quite as drastic. You can see there's just a little puncture right here. Looks like, yep, that happened from a tool. You can see it's sliced, and now it's just guzzling water out. The tree's probably loving it, but you can see the Bermuda grass all around here is also loving it too. And then you can see this one is disconnected. The connector, the coupling is actually broken off. That piece is stuck in there. And so what I'll have to do is I'll cut it right here. We'll remove this piece entirely and put a new T adapter in there and remove that little piece, right? 'Cause you can't have that in there. And then we'll reconnect it all. Right, and I'll try to show some imagery of that as well. But I kind of wanted to show you what it looks like. Oh, right here. Sometimes it's not as big as the others, but you can notice it's kind of moist right here. I don't know if it's picking up on the camera that well. But what it is, this one has a very tiny, like a pinhole in it. Just a pinhole, and which is really small. And you can sometimes just bury this or flip it upside down. But it's going to get worse, and so I'll probably have to cut that out, remove it, and then reconnect it with a coupling, because right now it's just spraying too far. It's putting water out into the walkway and not straight down into the plant's roots where I want it. It's shooting well over there, and we don't want that. Although it does feel good when I'm out here walking around. It is kind of nice. Woo! Nice to get a surprise spray. And so as we go, there's not too many. Like I said, it's pretty quiet. Oh, you know what? There was one over here I wanted you to hear earlier. No. Oh, there we go. Yep, I heard it earlier. And look, this is something I could just hear. Oh, look at that. I'm like dead clamp it. I just struck oil. No, it's just a broken irrigation pipe. and it's got a little bit of pressure on it, but it's nothing too crazy. Oh, here we go. There you go. As you can see, it basically, this one looks like a connector was pulled out. So there must have been a connector in there, because it's not a slice. And I can actually see a hole. Sometimes when you see like a vertical line or a linear line, you go, oh, okay, that was a pruner or a hand, some kind of tool got in there and sliced it on accident. But this one is a connector just came out, so we'll have to reconnect it, which is easy to do. So I'll dig this up a little bit, and we'll find it where the missing piece was and where it's at, and then we'll reconnect it. That's easy enough, just like playing Legos. All right, we got one more to go look at, and then I'll try to show you an example or two of actually how to do this, which is great to learn. A lot of people don't have confidence with their irrigation or fixing irrigation with drip and things, but you know what? If you just take a little time and are patient, you're willing to ask questions, go down to your local nursery or hardware store to get the right materials, it's actually fairly simple. It's like clicking in Lego pieces. You just got to know the right Lego piece. So right here, this one I've noticed is an issue. I can hear it. And just, oh, look. So that one broke off. This happens a lot. See how I said the plastic kind of breaks? So just a little bit of force in there, you know, it just wears down. And so now this should be connected to each other, and it shouldn't be having water just flood out. So we'll have to connect that as well. So we got several of them. Now here's one I've noticed that is super, it's not making a big loud noise and it's not spraying anywhere. But what it is doing is, look, I've had the irrigation on for about a half an hour now, 40 minutes. And normally it's on a drip, so they just drip out slowly. But somewhere in here, the drip tube has a break in it, and it's just pumping, glugging out water, because there's actually it's like a moat of water right around it. Like I said, the water's only been on, the irrigation's only been running for about 20-30 minutes. But the citrus tree tends to love it. You can see it's actually like, hey, thank you for all this extra water, but too much can also be a bad thing, and it's going to make the weeds out here go crazy, and it's just too much, right? The citrus loves a little bit of water, but pretty soon, to keep all the other plants watered, I'm going to have them on a certain amount of time. This one's going to have way too much time getting soaked and staying soaked. All his friends will be underwatered. So we'll definitely have to fix that one as well. The last one I'm going to show you is very visible, at least in my opinion. You can see this one spraying water. Look at that. The water's supposed to be going down to a you know, it's irrigation lines all the way around this tree and a couple different concentric greens, but it's spraying all the way to the next tree and into the walkway, and times it actually it'll move depending upon how the wind blows that tube. So we're gonna have to get in here, and you can kind of see the same situation. We'll get in here and then find out where this broke. You can see right there. That's where it used to. Whoa! Oh, there! Ah! It's spraying me. Look at this. Oh, I got it turned on me. You turned on me. It's like a irrigation with an attitude. Okay, and so you can see where it used to connect. It's like a little plastic T. It's in the shape of a T, the letter T, and then that's why you can connect it. It'll go up and then go left and right to connect. And so these little drip tubes here have emitters built into them, one there, about every 8 inches to a foot or so, depending upon the brand, and they will pump out water. And so right now this tree wasn't getting it, but hopefully I'll redirect that and get them all fixed. And I showed you most of the ones I have that are broken, but there might even be more. Like I said, sometimes you see just small breaks. So even a break like this, we can fix, or at the very least, just pin this down and bury it a little deeper. That way it's not spraying at the surface. We want this water to be below the surface. Yep, and oh, here's one more spraying out. And so you can see this is a lot of weed trimmer damage, or just breaks in the actual equipment. Just like I said, just wears down. But here, let me go see if I can fix a few of these, and we can learn together. All right, so it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing entirely to do it. So I'm gonna show you how I fixed this broken one right here. It was attached to this at a T, and that is an issue for us. And so I brought out some things. I want to show you the kit that I like to carry with me when I'm fixing my irrigation, and it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's just a little container, probably get at the hardware store or home improvement stores, things like that. And you can carry different materials in it, but for me, I like it because I can carry a bunch of different connectors. I got staples, landscape staples. I got pins and straight connectors, T connectors. I've got drip emitters. I've also bring out a fresh roll of my drip tube. This is a tubing that has holes in it, a ½ gallon per hour hole. I think every 18 inches on this one. You can get them closer. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, every 6 inches. But every 18 inches equals ½ a gallon. my apologies, but yeah, 100 feet of this. So I always carry that with me when I'm out here. Got a little hand tool, just if I have to move around some mulch or to create a temporary little footing to actually, because we're going to try to pin some of this, the fresh material back down or in place where it belongs, and that way it won't get damaged quite as easily from weed whacking and weeding and walking around, stuff like that. And I also, of course, carry out nice little sharp pair of bypass pruners because they work really good in cutting this material. So here we go. Without further ado, let's do it. Like I said, if I wanted to reuse this tubing, and I very well could, because I don't believe there's any broken areas, although it has been twisted up. You can see it's actually quite twisted. So I've removed it. What I'm gonna do first is I'll actually, let me see if I can see, you can see right there, I'm actually gonna just cut that and remove that piece, toss out the part that I removed. And then now what it is it has to be empty on the inside. Sometimes you get a little plastic piece in there. You don't want to have that. You want to have it nice and clean so you can actually put a connector in there. The problem with this tube is it's really twisted up, because I think a weed trimmer got to it, bound it up, but I don't believe it actually damaged the tube. So the tube should be good to go. If it sprays out and mists, we can always replace it, but I like to try to reuse as much of the material as humanly possible, because that's just good. All right, so this is the original broken piece. Like I said, there you can see a broken little nub of hard plastic in the soft pipe. I cut it all the way back to where there's no more, the connector's completely removed. I'm gonna look for a T connector. Oh, got one right here, and they call it a T, because guess what? It's shaped like a T. Kind of hard to, and so that will allow me, I'll put that right into this tube. On a nice warm sunny days when it works really good. On a cold morning, it's really hard to get these to push in. I like to squeeze it with this and kind of push and then rock it. And that actually makes it go on pretty. You can spin it if you have to, but just a little bit of movement, and you want it to meet up right there, plastic to plastic. All right, once that's in, we can actually put one of our pieces on, and so that'll be great. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come around the tree right where I want it, and then I'm actually just gonna put it in. If there's an issue and if this tube has a break in it that I didn't realize, we can always replace it, remove it, because I do see some gnarly little twists in it, but I think we're gonna be okay. And so now I got the other side, but as you can see, it still has that other broken piece in it, because it broke 3 different places, look like. Boom, that's cut out. Now that we got it, I'm actually gonna go around the tree maybe twice, I'm considering. Let's see here. There we go. Oh yeah. And I can always add more to this tree if needed. More irrigation. I'm gonna go like that. Let's see if you can see that. Sorry, I'm not the best camera person, but ooh, it's windy out here. It's super windy. Okay, blow me around. All right, now that it's done, I can always test it and make sure that it's running properly, make sure that there's, like I said, there aren't any more breaks, but I'm feeling pretty confident. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go all the way around the tree, just a little bit, and dig a little footing for the tube to just rest in. And that way it won't be up at the surface quite as much. We can have it all rest down, and I'm gonna pin it in place with some staples every so often, every you know, where needed, about every couple feet, and that'll pin it down, and so that way I can hold it towards the soil, and even have it about 1 inch or 2 of mulch on top of it. We'll come back and test it, but that's one down, more to go. Okay, so here's another one that had an issue. You can see it actually got ripped out from its hole. I can see same problem. I can see a broken piece right here. We'll cut that out. You can see right there, that's the remainder of the T that got ripped out and broken. So it was actually ripped from the main tube and then snapped. And so it was actually watering this tree quite a bit. The trees loved it, or this tree did, but the weeds are also loving it a little too much. And so it's time to find a T connector. You can hear me looking for it right now. That's why it's important to have them organized. Oh, there we go. I found them right where my spot where I keep them. There we go. Another T connector. I'm actually gonna put them in first to each tube. Make sure there's no dirt in that tube. You don't want to get any soil in there if you can avoid it. Got them pushed in right there, and then now it's just a matter of snapping it into the main tube, our source tube. Oh, All right, that's in. So now I'll do the same thing. I'll go around this, and I'll dig a little footing for it, and I'll pin it down properly and where it belongs, and then cover it with a bit of mulch to protect the tube in the future, so that way this won't happen. What happens is sometimes this gets exposed at the surface. Myself, students come around, you know, we weed trimmer it, and then sometimes just, or even use a hula hoe or something, and you can damage it really bad, right? On to the next one. All right, so I hope you guys remembered this one that I showed you earlier in the video that has a broken emitter. It was shooting water, a stream of water across the orchard here. And so you can see right here is where it's actually the connector is broken off. So that's gonna be where I'm actually gonna have to remove that. So I'm actually gonna squeeze this and push it out. If you need to use a pair of needle nose pliers or something, that might be helpful if you don't have the finger strength. Whew. But really it actually just pops right out pretty easily. We'll toss that right in the trash. There's a couple different ways to fix this. I could put an emitter right into it, or I could put a goof plug in there. A goof plug is a little black. Let me show you. Goof plugs look like that. You can buy them, and if you ever puncture a hole that you don't need, or you end up having a hole you don't need, you have two different sides for the holes blown out, or if it's a typical hole for a drip tube, you can fill them all up and plug them up so they won't drip. In this case, you know, I'll put a emitter in here just for fun. That way I can get this tree just a hair more water. You use the barbed side on the emitter. That pointy side kind of has a barb on it. Let me see if you can see it against my pale little hand. You can see that tip goes in, snaps in, you'll hear that click, then you know you're good to go. You can see this right here. But I'm not done. What I need to do with this is like I did before, is we're actually gonna make a footing. We'll pin this down, put some more mulch on top, because this will get broken by irrigation, or I'm sorry, the irrigation will get broken when weed trimmers and things like that come through and break it. So we want to pin it down, bury it up a little bit after we test it, of course, make sure it's not leaking. But hey, there we go. We have just fixed a bunch of drip problems in the garden. Actually, I think I have several more to fix, but I'm not going to bore you with those. We will come back to this issue because fixing irrigation is a big problem for a lot of people, and it happens for us. It's an issue every year, several times a year. We have to fix, replace irrigation. Not a big deal, really easy to do typically. And so if you just stay calm, stay focused, or if you're willing to learn, it's become a really easy thing to do in your garden, and then you can get confident with it. But don't count yourself short. Give it some time, learn a little bit, research a little bit, go to the nurseries, you know, purchase the right materials, and I think you can find success in your garden, because basically getting water to your plants and trees effectively is one of the the biggest things a successful gardener can do, right? Too much water can be bad. No water at all, obviously very bad. But hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, yeah, saved by the bell. If you enjoyed this video or liked it, or didn't enjoy it, still hit the like button, subscribe, come back. We'd love to have you back in the garden to share our garden adventures with you, and maybe, heck, you might even be able to share some of your garden adventures with us. All right, take care, you guys. Happy gardening and best wishes.